Hello, hello, welcome back. Yes, today it's all about designing classes. One of the more complicated things to do, designing adventures is probably more difficult, but designing classes is pretty hard. And that's what we're going to try and do today. And we're looking at Shadowdark because I've been doing a lot of design around Shadowdark, and so I want to keep working my way through that. And I'm going to put up a poll. Feel free to take part in that poll if you want to. And we're going to get into this in a second. I suggest grabbing some food, some drink, making sure you're comfortable, and we will crack into this. I'm going to do my very best. I'm not going to say that I'm perfect in terms of condition, but yeah, we're definitely. I think we're definitely going to get a lot done. I have done some homework because I was aware that my brain may not function properly. Anyway, so let's get moving, shall we? Hi, welcome to How to D&D. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're designing a class. I thought we would look at the Dungeons and Dragons Battle Master. And for those of you who are aware of 5e, you'll understand what the Battle Master is. But let's make that for Shadowdark, since Shadowdark is just another version of Dungeons and Dragons, and making a class for Shadowdark is far easier to do than it is in 5e, where it could take us many hours of long, hard work to figure out what we're doing. Shadowdark is not like that, which is one of the reasons why I want to do that, is work on that particular class and that particular game system. It is essentially, as I said, just Dungeons and Dragons. So before I start these things, normally what I do is I ask the question. And hello, Fred Huber. How are you? Fred Huber is a patron and a moderator. Glad you are here. I will probably need a little bit of help along the way. If you're able to help, that'd be great. So this is my question. How would you build, or how would you design the Battle Master class for Shadowdark RPG? Might not be the same way as me, but always a good question to ask. So let's put that question out there for those of you who are interested. And so what did this all stem from? I have a Google document that I've already started, by the way, for those of you who are wondering. I've already started the Google Doc. It's basically, I'm ready to go. But I wanted to explain why I'm doing the Battle Master. And one of the reasons why I'm doing the Battle Master is because I have a friend, and we've been playing together for many years. We played 3.5 Pathfinder first, the first edition, and then we played a little bit of 4e, but not much. And we've been playing 5e for many years, and now we're playing Shadowdark. And he said, look, I really like the fighter, but the fighter just is really simple for me. It's not hard for me to figure out. Is there something we can do with that? And there was discussion about the Battle Master being sort of a more complicated version of the fighter. The fighter in Shadowdark does a really good job. It's good at what it does. Probably maybe not as good as high-end spell casting like the wizard and the priest. Absolutely. But in melee, it dominates. It's really effective. It does a great job. Everything I've seen suggests that there's nothing wrong with the class itself. But he would like to have a few more options, a few more things he can do. So that is why I have taken the Battle Master and created some stuff from that I can port over to Shadowdark. Okay? And while I was, now I did this before I got sick and diseased, and so I spent a bunch of time and basically drew up some rough notes, which are basically these. So this is usually how I do it when I start off, is I don't sit in front of a computer. I actually sit down with a piece of paper and a pen, and maybe I'm watching a movie or doing something else, and I will work my way through the process, quite often with a Shadowdark book in front of me and maybe another source book, or maybe just a basic concept, and see if that's sort of where it should go. And so it looks kind of messy. absolutely. But the good news is, right, I did the same thing when we did the Hexblade class for Shadowdark. This is the Hexblade Shadowdark notes that I put together. We did the same for the Arcane Archer, right? I did an Arcane Archer. I did an Elemental Warrior recently as well as a class for Shadowdark. And they all start with just a half page, and that's it. So while I was sick in my, I don't know, demented fever or cold sweats or whatever the heck you want to call it, there were times where my brain was functioning enough to use a pen. Wasn't very often, but in the process, I did come up with, and this is for future, for those of you who are like, Fred's been away for almost a month, what the heck have you been doing? Well, actually, I did quite a bit. So I do have the notes for a War Mage, right? So I did the notes for a War Mage. One of my friends in my home group asked for a swashbuckler. So that was hard to figure out what to do with a swashbuckler, but I wrote down some stuff for that. Okay, so there's a swashbuckler class that we'll do in the future. And then I also looked at doing something like the Monster Slayer. I believe that is a ranger subclass for 5e. So I did the Monster Slayer, and I built some things that we could use. So we'll do that in the future. And I did the Gloomstalker, which is a highly overpowered subclass in 5e. And I did something for Shadowdark. So you can look forward to those, but that's not the only thing that I jotted down notes for. I also, because there was a bunch of them who were asking about the Blade Singer, which again is another very overpowered thing, the Blade Singer. So I've got notes on the Blade Singer, so we'll come to this at some point. I also did the Soul Knife, which I feel like the Soul Knife was kind of potentially going to wind up duplicating what the Hexblade was, so I had to really think about that a little bit more. I don't know if I succeeded, and then I started working on a Rune Knight and kind of got stuck. And then I started doing a Psy Warrior and completely got stuck. So for those of you who are wondering what's happening in the future, those are all things you can look forward to as I peruse the process of designing for Shadowdark. What it has also done is it's helped me condense my ideas about how to design classes for 5e, whether that's 2014 or 2025 or 24, the newest version. And also to how to view multiclassing and subclasses and how to break it down to something that's kind of more usable. Yep. So that's, that's a lot of information to put in front of you. So now let's just deal with the topic at hand, which is, let's show you what I have in terms of notes. Get your opinion. I will work through this process as quickly as I can. I suspect that I will fade quickly and succumb to the fact that I'm still not completely over whatever's going on. So this is my Shadowdark Classes and Ancestries workshop thingy. We've done a Samurai, a Hexblade, we've done the Arcane Archer, the Elemental Warrior. And so today we are working on the Battle Master. So let us hit the Battle Master and mark that off. Let us put in, this is draft 5? It'll be draft 5, I think it is. It is the fourth of September. Go September. Why the hell am I live streaming? Okay, so hopefully I did enough homework that I'm going to make it through the whole thing. Anyway, so I put down Battle Master class, or you could call it, say, I guess, a War Master. Since we probably can't use Battle Master, I don't know that that's going to be in the SRD, so that name may be sort of copyright. And a complete duplication would be bad, right? So this is how I have looked at it. I've looked at the fighter and decided, since one of my friends, Simon, is very much keen on having a fighter that he would like, how could I make the fighter a battle master, but also how could I make it so that it was better in some way? So I tried to figure out if I could do things with it that would actually clean some of the stuff up that I discovered is actually very difficult, as you will discover when you start designing anything in terms of classes. So this is what I have so far. A master of weapons that can utilize multiple techniques during a battle. I suppose I should add more, but the second sentence didn't make sense to add because I hadn't really determined what its utility abilities would be. So for the fighter class, right, the fighter class has the fact that it's really good with weapons. It's got weapon mastery. That's its key thing. Like, that's its combat focus. But it's also got another thing called hauler, which means it can carry more stuff, which isn't really a combat thing. It's more utility outside of combat sort of thing. And also grit, where you get to have advantage on a strength or a dexterity check related to certain things. And that again is not really a combat thing. That is more a exploration, non-combat aspect. So I had to build stuff for a battle master that was non-combat. Now I did some of that, and some of it I did not do successfully. And you'll see in a second exactly what I mean. So the weapons, I just put down all weapons. I really wanted it to be just very much like the fighter, but giving you more to work with, maybe requiring a little bit more taxation on your brain, because I know that's what Simon's going for. This is the guy who wants a battle master, basically. And then armor, all armor and shields, just like the fighter. Nothing's different. Hit dice, 1d8 per level, just like the fighter. Nothing's different. This is where it starts to get different. I was thinking about a battle master, and I thought, it would be nice if the battle master could make and repair armor, weapons, and metal items. There isn't actually a background that says blacksmith. So this is one of the reasons why I was looking at this and thinking this would be kind of cool, is to have that aspect to it. Because I think most of the time, if you are a player playing in a game with a game master or dungeon master, what they're going to say to you is, well, yeah, but do you have the skills to do blacksmithing? Do you know what I mean? Do you have a background like that? What did you do in the past? And if you say, well, yeah, I used to be a blacksmith, they're probably not going to let you have that. So I thought, actually, out of all of the different classes, maybe the battle master is the expert. Now, you might say this is a combat thing. This is more about the fact that you can repair and make somebody else's armor and weapons. I haven't stipulated anything else in terms of the cost, whether it reduces cost. I don't know that that's necessary to worry about in Shadowdark. Maybe I need to state, like, when you make armor, and maybe I need to build out this feature a bit more and say it costs half the normal retail price of armor and weapons. That maybe that's something I need to put down. That's sort of, that's not a difficult thing. That's another sentence that's easy to incorporate. And then I thought about world expert. I felt like, the battle master is probably somebody who travels the world waging war in different locations. I guess like the tool of the colonization machine for a nation or whatever. And so they would probably be an expert. And so I thought, well, maybe having them select or randomly roll a second background, because you always get a background, right? When you make a character, you get one background. You don't get two. But we could give them a second background. This I'm not too so sure about. So I'm going to put this. I like the blacksmith idea a lot more in terms of a utility feature. And then I thought about the art of war. But there are two things that I thought I could do with art of war in terms of, one is a combat thing, which I think I probably should get rid of. And that is, you have advantage on initiative rolls, because that's really combat. That's not really outside of combat. But the battle masters sort of are one of those things where we don't necessarily want to give them something in the middle of the combat aspect that makes them even better than they were before, essentially making them even better than the fighter. We want to give them some sort of utility function. And I thought, well, maybe this is not the right way, because the rogue has got this already. And maybe we were better off to just have advantage on a check related to war, military organizations or something like that. Military. Oh god, organizations. I can't spell. And I don't know. Combat tactics or something like that. Or tactics and tactics. But I'm not too sure how that is going to feed into something like Shadowdark, how well that is going to function. So this, I mean, the name Art of War, I think, is fine, and I think that it's sort of where we probably want to go. But then this initiative thing probably is not the way to go, and this other one, I'm not too sure how I need to word it. So this is kind of what I've got so far. So this is where my head was at. And also too, you'll see blacksmith includes metal items. So you could make a horseshoe, you could make other metal items. I guess, yeah, those are sorts of the utility things I was thinking. Now let's get down to the combat aspect of the class. So this is what I wrote down. Maneuvers. I don't know if I'm going to have to change that wording. Maybe it'll have to be techniques or whatever. You employ specialized techniques to defeat your enemy with all weapons. You declare using one of the following techniques with your weapons attack each round. So you have to decide which one you're going to use before you do it, and this is to stop people from deciding to change and retrospectively based off their dice roll. That's why I've put down you declare, because I know where this is going to lead. I know what my players would do. If my players would abuse this, somebody else will as well. So I've put down the word declare because I've started to discover that wording. Basically, my home group have been playing 5e for too long, played far too much 3.5, and a hell of a lot of Pathfinder, and they are tricky little snots, I'll tell you. Anyway, so love them, but they're also a pain in the ass. So here we are. These are the things that I had written down that I thought would be a good idea. I need to put a lozenge in my mouth. I put down here disarm, parry, evade, precision, power, trip, and push. And how did I base that? I took the player's handbook for 5e and looking at all of the different sort of maneuvers that were available, I decided to sort of break that down and take the things that seem to be the most common and the most easily transferable without trying to add in extra complexity or rules that don't exist, because things like opportunity attacks don't exist in Shadowdark. Thank God, frankly, but they don't, so there's no point mucking around with them. There's no reactions as such, although there's supposedly something called a reaction roll, but it's not the same thing. It's not what you think it is. And I often don't even use a reaction roll, because it's really just it's just how the monsters really respond to you when you first meet them. So I put these together, and these are the ideas that I came up with. I don't know how much weight they have mechanically in the game. For those of you who've played Shadowdark and you can see problems, by all means point them out. If you haven't played Shadowdark but you can see a problem, point it out too. Because, as I said, I am not functioning at full capacity, and so there are things that I may have missed. I did this while I was not sick, so there's a better chance that I haven't fucked it up. Anyway, here we go. Disarm. When you hit a target, so you have to hit the target, you only ever get one attack. So when you hit a target, you can take the weapon it holds off them or knock it to the ground. So that is, I decided that there needed to be two options to work with. First off, I was thinking in terms of disarm, that you could only disarm them and take their weapon off them, and that would be it. The idea being that you had to have a hand free to do so, which means you wouldn't be able to have a shield on, and you'd have a weapon in your hand, and that one weapon would have be a one-handed weapon, so that you had a hand free to take the weapon once you had disarmed them. And I thought that scenario is a scenario I want to have happen. I think that's a good scenario. But then I thought, well, if you have a shield and a sword or a single-handed weapon, it would be nice if you could just knock the weapon out of their hand, and it might fall to the ground. And yes, on their turn they might pick it up, but there's a chance that somebody else might walk over to where that weapon is and pick it up off the ground if you don't or can't. So I decided to include both. This is why disarm is a little bit more complicated than some of the other abilities. Okay. I don't know how that's going to play necessarily at the game, but I like the idea. Most monsters that have weapons have at least 2 weapons that they can use. So and a lot of monsters don't have weapons anyway. Like, you can't take their claws off them or their teeth off them or their stinger. It's going to have to be a weapon. They have to be holding a weapon. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So it's only going to apply to monsters that hold weapons. Parry. When you hit a target, so again, you have to hit a target, increase your armor class by +1 for 1 round. Now, I put this down as you need to be doing well to benefit from getting that +1 to your armor class for 1 round. The idea being that you've got 1 round where your armor class is just a little bit better. Now, +1 to your armor class in Shadowdark is a big deal. But it is also only 1 round. I didn't want to go 1d4 rounds. I thought that was too much. I also thought it was too hard to track. And I was very aware that if I started doing this sort of stuff, I could run into the problem of 4E where there's too many things for people to track. And that's not what we want with Shadowdark. Shadowdark should be fast and fun. And your fight should be over in like 2 or 3 minutes. Maybe it'll drag out to 5 minutes if you're really slow at a slow poke and can't get your shit together. But anyway, next, evade. So rather than making an attack, you dodge. So you still might have your weapon out, but you're dodging. You declare using one of the following techniques with your weapon's attack each round. So I dodge. This is like the dodge in 5e. And the enemy has disadvantage on attack rolls for 1 round. That's it. And I think there's some advantages. You could block a hallway, you could bottleneck. In a dungeon, it's going to be quite effective if it's 5 foot. If it's 10 foot, maybe not. But yeah, I thought that would also make it easier for you to survive if you get surrounded and you need to sort of, not get hit. That gives you a few more options if you're playing a fighter. The other one is precision. So your attack rolls have +1 to hit. Now I maybe need to state for 1 round. For 1 round. I know what's going to happen because somebody's going to read that. Oh, so that means that all my attacks. No, you have to pick which one it is that you're going to do each round. So power. Your damage roll gains a +1 for 1 round. This is why you have to declare what you're going to do. I'm making a power attack. I'm making a precision attack. I'm evading. I'm making a parry attack. I'm disarming. I'm making a disarming attack. I'm making a trip attack. So, yeah. So when you hit a target, you also knock it to the ground. I didn't write prone because that's more of a terminology that is used by 5e. I didn't think it was necessarily. This is sort of normal language. Should be easy to figure out. There's nothing that's mechanical that says that if you were prone in Shadowdark, that there's any better and there's a huge advantage in any way. So it's going to be down to the game master and the players to decide how that's all going to work. Ultimately, the dungeon master or game master will decide how that will be beneficial in some way. But I'm sure somebody will figure out a way where this might be quite useful. So I wanted to have it there. The other one is push. When you hit a target while using a shield, and I did state a shield because I thought like pushing somebody back with a weapon isn't going to make much sense, but with a shield it does. And push it back close range. So you can push it back like 5 foot, essentially. You can push it a little bit further back. So that means if on the edge of a precipice or a cliff, you could push them back. Maybe you push them into a fire, into a pit, maybe an acid, whatever it might be. So there's a way of maneuvering them a little bit. So when you hit a target while using shield, you can push it back close range. There we go. So those were the different maneuvers that I thought pretty much covered all of our bases. It gives you plenty of options, makes the fighter a little bit more complicated, and this would obviously replace the fighter's weapon mastery. That's essentially what it's done here. That's what I was trying to go for. Okay. I don't know how it's going to play at the table. I've just written it down. So I then went through the fighter's talents. And the fighter's talents are things that I don't like the talent table for the fighter. I feel like it's pain in the butt, actually, in many respects. So what I did is I kind of streamlined it a little bit. And I might want to make it a slight adjustment to this again. And I'll show you what I mean. But here we go. So instead of 12 being choose a talent or +2 bonus to distribute to stats, I thought, let's just have one that's the +2 to distribute to stats. Separate that from choose a talent. Choose a talent is the 12. We're going to leave it there. I'm fine with that. That's not an issue. And then I thought, okay, we've got this choose one kind of armor. You gain +1 armor class from that armor. And I thought, ultimately, usually what they wind up doing when they're playing a fighter is they'll apply it to, if they can try and get hold of chainmail, then they'll apply it to that. If they wind up with leather armor, they might apply it to that. It's very hard for them to sort of control that. Ultimately, in the end, I thought it doesn't really matter too much. And so I was like, but then I also discovered that if they keep rolling the same one, and it tends to happen, rolling a 10 and an 11 for your talent bonus or your new talent when you're leveling up in Shadowdark, I've had people who wind up with a armor class that's really high. So I think a 10 or 11 is probably the wrong place to put it. I also just put down, let's just keep it simple. You get +1 AC from the armor you wear. That's it. It doesn't matter whether you're wearing leather armor, chainmail, You're just better at wearing that armor and utilizing it in some way. I don't know narratively how that sort of works, but maybe that's how you position your weight, how you take the blows. I don't honestly know because I've never really worn armor before. So I put that down. I also put down +1 to melee and ranged attack rolls, which I think in the fighter is +1 to melee and ranged attacks. I think I put the word rolls in because I'm kind of curious if maybe people read that as that means I get +1 to the attack roll and the damage roll, and that's not what I want to do. So I separated them quite deliberately so that they are different. So each one of these things are doing a different thing. And so what I thought I might do is I might take this. I would much prefer to give them a +1 to distribute to a stat more often than a +1 to the armor class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and go copy, cut, and then I'm going to go here and I'm going to just redistribute this. I was thinking about it the other day, just based off the experience of seeing how my players are rolling for talents, and you get weird results sometimes. I think this is probably a better way of doing it. So there's only a very small chance of getting the +1 to your AC from the armor you wear. You're more likely to get that +2 to distribute to your stats, which I'm much happier with. And it could be anything. And instead of the fighter saying it has to be strength or dexterity or constitution, I want the players to be able to stick it wherever the hell they like. I don't think it really matters. I think this makes us a little bit cleaner. It means your battle master is going to be able to be a bit more customizable if you roll a 12, a 10, or 11. and then of course you're doing what you normally do. What you're going to be more effective as being a battle master, and good in combat, I guess, by rolling the 2, the 3 to 3 to 6, the 7 to 9. Okay, and then here we go. This is my least favorite part of designing classes for Shadowdark, and that is the titles. So I have put in Warlord under Chaotic. I just put Battlemaster right across for neutral, chaotic, and lawful, and then I got stuck. I have some ideas, but before I get into that, I think what we need to do is we need to figure out what we're doing with utility functions. I think what we need to say is, if the Battlemaster has maneuvers, that has to be there. That makes sense. We have to decide whether World Expert is something we use, or the Blacksmith, which I prefer the idea of the Blacksmith idea for the Battlemaster, even though, it's a thing. It is definitely related to combat, but I feel like it's more in line with what they probably would do well. And then Art of War. Do we line it up the way I've structured it, or do we do something different? So maneuvers, and then we need 2 other things. So it's either going to be Battlemaster, World Expert, or Art of War. Or maybe you come up with a better idea and I put that in. Yeah, so that's where my head was at. Let's go to chat and see what people have had to say. I've been speaking for just over half an hour. And so you've seen all of the stuff that I've put together so far, right? Okay, let's have a look. I'm kind of interested. Here we go. In addition to swinging a sword, shoot a bow, and throw a cocktail, right? Yep. Being a leader of mass combat groups only comes into play if there's mass combat. Yeah, that's a problem. Only, I guess, the thing is that Shadowdark is not just a dungeon crawler. You can do hex crawl, and I don't think it would be outside of the parameters for you to be engaged in large-scale battles as well. I have written an adventure, or is it 1 or 2 adventures? I've written 2 adventures that could be used in Shadowdark. I haven't actually tested them to see how well it works out. I did create a commander class. So for those of you who don't know, I've already made some classes, and it's the player's expansion for Shadowdark RPG on DriveThru RPG, and you can pay what you want, and it's got 10 classes, 17 ancestries, but one of those classes that I put together is called the Commander. And the Commander is very much a battlefield or small skirmish battle controller, a supporting character in many respects. So yeah, for every bonus you give a specialty class, you should take away something from the base to keep it from being futile to take the base class. I'm not sure where we're going with this. If the specialties are all bonuses at no cost, then the original class will just never be played again. So here's the thing. I can't take something away. What I need to do is I either need to be on par or similar in nature. I think that's where I need to go with this. The problem is military ranks. I'm pretty sure I used military ranks for something else recently, and I can't remember what it is for the life of me. I know we did that not that long ago. Military ranks I used for another class in terms of names. So yeah, we'll come back to titles. Okay, so nobody said anything. I would hello Cal-Rel. I would be very interested to know what people's opinion are of. We need 2 utility functions that are fitting for a battle master, right? What will they be? That's my question to you. Is like, what are the ones that sort of stand out as like those are the ones we should go for? As I said, I think the getting advantage on initiative is probably a bad idea because it's not utility. But yeah, just a question there. So let's since we are going to go back here, I'm going to start working through some title names. I think I got some things written down here that would be all right. I don't know. Or she. So like I said, we have the blacksmith. You can make and repair armor, weapons, and metal items. I want to leave it up to the. I really want to leave it up to the game master to decide what the repair cost on armor is. Do I need to state how much it costs to make armor and weapons? Because that's what they're going to do. Is like, if I go to this town and I can't get this weapon, you know, and I've got a blacksmith, access to a blacksmith work area and the tools and so forth, can I do this? So yeah, I know the thief does state they have the tools. Maybe I do need to have a line in here that states that you have access to a forge and smithing tools. Because I know the thief class states that they come with the necessary tools. So as an expert in metal crafting, you have access to a forge, smithing tools, and materials and materials and that would sort of cover the problem of, oh, do you have a forge, do you have smithing tools? Now it just comes down to, do you have the time to do it? I don't want to get into how long it takes to make stuff, because that's just starting to feel a bit 5e-ish. But yeah, so this is what I need to know. Is I need to know, out of the three things that we've got here, world expert, blacksmith, art of war, which one do you like the most, or do you think there's something that we could put in here that would be better? Okay, so that's my question to you. And maybe is that a question I should ask in chat? Hadn't thought about that. Anyway, that is my question to you, is like, which are the ones that you like the idea of? And okay, let's so I had some, I think I wrote down some really quick notes. So warlord, I've got warlord. I kind of got another name that we could potentially use here, and that's overlord. Warlord and overlord feel very similar, so I'm going to put here overlord. Overlord sounds bad, doesn't it? But that's neutral, so we'll put overlord into neutral. How about oppressor? We could use oppressor, despoiler. Oppressor, despoiler, oppressor. Despoiler, oppressor, oppressor, oppressor. Oppressor. Despoiler. Yeah. So those are my ideas so far. In terms of the rest of the titles, this is my least favorite part. I was thinking what we could do is maybe we can take the word Battlemaster and find a different word in a different language around the world that means Battlemaster. That was another thing that was percolating through my mind when I was thinking about this, is maybe that is a solution. Battlemaster, the oh god, I can't do it again. The dinosaur name. Commander, Conqueror. Conqueror and Champion. Now, I believe, isn't Champion a title used in an existing, I believe it is. I'm pretty sure it is, that it's one of the titles that's used for the fighter, is Conqueror. I tried really hard not to reuse titles from some other stuff. The fighter's already got Warlord as chaotic. So maybe that is... Maybe we need to steer away from the word Warlord and call them something else. I know what we could do. Instead of Warlord, let's call them Tyrant. So basically, another word for you're a big dick. Tyrant, chaotic. That makes more sense. Let's do that one. Oppressor. And then, I don't know what to put here exactly, but let's have a look at what else we've got here. Commander, I feel like, is fairly neutral. And it's also sort of the name of a class that I made, but a Commander's not a bad idea. Conqueror. Champion. I believe the champion is already used in something else. I can't remember what it is. It'll be in something, but I don't know what it is. But I think maybe we can use it again. Maybe we'll put champion. So where's champion supposed to go? Let's just go. Can't we just use hero? Hero. Champion. I'm just making up shit. What else have we got? Champion. We've got Commander and we've got Conqueror. I feel like Conqueror could go somewhere else. Conqueror. Maybe it's not Conqueror. Maybe it's something else. Oh, maybe it could be. Let's go with Commander somewhere. It's got to be some sort of thing, right? Governor, ruler, captain. I don't want to go captain. Captain just feels just not quite as cool. What else can we do here? Let's go with. I like champion though. Conqueror, champion, fight and battle, conflict, struggles, terms, tactics. What about tactician? We haven't done tactician, have we? Tactician. Which one would be above the other, do you reckon? Commander. I reckon we go champion. Cut, paste, hero, paste. The tactician would probably work under the commander, so let's go here. Tactician. Is that right? Is that how you spell it? Tactician. God, I hope I got it right. Is that tactician? Commander. Okay, those feel more in the lawful aspect, I guess. I'm going to start them all out as just Battle Master. Although we could change this to Weapon Master. Weapon Master and something else. I don't know. Anyway, we've got to fill in here. So I don't know what I'm going to put here exactly. And then neutral. What would neutral be? That is a good question. It needs to be something that is, because I think Vanquisher. Oh, hang on. What have we got here? Vanquisher, Beater. I like Vanquisher. Vanquisher feels cool. Let's pull this up. Master, Warlord. Let's go here. Craftsman, Specialist, Professional. Mercenary. Is it mercenary? Mercenary, Battle Master, Mercenary. Battle Master, mercenary. Mercenary? I don't know. And then we had another word here, and I'm sure I saw it, and I can't remember what it is. I saw it. It was Vanquisher, wasn't it? Vanquish? Yeah, Vanquisher. Victor, Whipper, Subduer, Ruler, Champ, Trimmer, Vanquisher. Let's do Vanquisher. Vanquisher. I don't know. We seem to be doing all right. It's not a manager, a captain, leader. Leader's kind of tame and boring. Kingpin. No, it's not. It's not the right sort of thing. It's got to be something else, doesn't it? It's got to be something that's more in the line of I don't know. Dominator. I feel like the Dominator, despoiler, oppressor. Dominator? Yeah. Dominator. I am the Terminator. Now the Dominator. Okay, the Dominator. Okay, so that feels very chaotic to me. Vanquisher, more neutral. What are we dealing with? Baron, crazy, Dominator. I am the Terminator of Dominators. And then something else. Okay, so maybe I'm going to go back to chat. Maybe you guys have figured out how to help me solve this. I've just been chucking stuff in here and kind of arranging it the way I think it might work all right. We could do Weapon Master as well. We don't have to have Battle Master. We could go Weapon Master. And then War Master. Why don't we do this? War Master, Weapon Master, Battle Master. Oh, I am cheating so much. Sorry. And now that we've got that, we just got that one thing left to figure out for neutral. And for the life of me, I cannot think of a sodding thing. So let's go and see if chat have they solved my problems? Or will I be sitting back and trying to figure this stuff out a little bit later on? Okay, so let me have a look. Camp Organizer. Advantages in setting up defensive positions and assigning watchstanders. It's never going to come into play. That's the only problem. It's never going to come into play. It is funny as though. Vandal. You reckon Tactician is neutral? Okay. Well, okay. Tactician. Okay, so I'll put Tactician. Copy. No, it's not copy. Tactician is cut. Put into neutral, and now I have to figure out the lawful one. Maybe that's going to be easier if I go. What's another word for champion? Because that might actually be easier to go. What's another word for hero or champion? That might actually work out a lot easier to do. So I've moved it across like you suggested. Okay, it was here. It is now over here. Tactician is under neutral. I feel like we're kind of on the right track. Let's do a little itty bitty search and what's the best way to do this? Search Thesaurus. Let's go hero. Hero. What's another word for hero? Champion. We've got that. Victor, winner, conqueror, Lionheart. Oh, I guarantee it. If I put down Lionheart as a title under the battle, they're going to love that shit. They're going to love it. Celebrity megastar. Let's do it. Why not? Hero, Lionheart. You can tell me now if it is too much on the nose. I've put in line art. Good. Man of Warrior, Paladin. We've got Paladin as a class. I already made a Paladin class, by the way. It's in that player's expansion for Shadowdark RPG on DriveThru RPG. Well, what else? Superstar, Idol, Lion, let's see. No. Hero, Theosaurus. Brave man, great man, conquering hero, blah, 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 blah. What is a better word for hero? Knight, conqueror, hero, champion, person of the hour, protector. I suppose protector could be used. Savior is maybe just getting a little bit. I mean, it's probably another. Savior is probably just 10 times worse than putting Lionheart. Protector. Could I do that? Protector or Lionheart? I don't know. You guys tell me. You tell me. You let me know. I need you to help drive the brain. I feel like we have kind of been really successful, mainly because I did a lot of homework beforehand, but yeah. So yeah, I'm interested. What are your opinions? Is Lionheart or Protector a better choice? Oh, here we go. Unit leader. Oh, you got a whole lot of things here. Senior military, feudal, shogun. Oh, so Cal-Rel, when we made the samurai class, we made a samurai class for Shadowdark, and I used a lot of that stuff already. So you're putting in stuff there that I kind of already used to a certain extent. So yeah, using those as titles probably won't work very effectively because I've already used them. What's another way that we can do this? I don't know that I've used Protector and anything else. I know Protector is not part of. I mean, the priest has a title called Champion as well. No, let's keep Lionheart. I kind of like it. It's kind of whack, but it's kind of entertaining too. Let's just leave that as it is. That's fine. That's fine. And so now we just need to come down to the utility abilities and how they are going to work. Zulu names. Okay. Well, when we're making a Zulu type warrior class, then we'll be using those for sure. So what's the best way? So I think what we do is we remove the combat aspects that are supposed to be utility things from the stuff that we've got already. And if I do that, then it should be pretty clear where we sit. Okay, so titles, we're going to leave it at that for now. They're all different. I haven't reused them from the core rulebook. There's nothing there that's the same. I haven't compared it with the ones from the player's expansion for Shadowdark RPG, which is the thing that I made with AJ Pick and Mitchell Reed and Wally DM and my brother David Bailey. I haven't checked that, but that's probably not something I need to worry about checking right now, because that'd take a bit of time, since there's 10 starting classes, which means there's 10 times 15 comes to 150 different titles to go through. I don't want to do that. We need to get the bulk of the class itself figured out. So we'll keep the talents the way they are. The titles are all right. I think we've got all our maneuvers that we needed, and I think they're written in a way that we can assure that we'll be pretty sure that they can't be utilized in a way that they were not intended. And now it just comes down to deciding on what are the things that we use. So let's get rid of this advantage on initiative rolls, because that is a combat thing. And let's go with here. You have advantage on. You have advantage. Why am I having trouble with this? Is my brain sort of stopping? You have advantage on checks on checks. Why is it saying that? No, not do you. You have advantage on checks related to war, military organizations, and combat tactics. I think we keep that one. I think that's the one we need to keep. Whether I need to expand it out so that it's a bit broader in terms of how it could be utilized. Related to war, military organizations, historic battles. I don't know, yeah. And then this other one here, I think the blacksmith one is one to keep, and I think that the world expert is the one to ditch. I think those are probably the ones that I would go with. One for supporting the repair and making of your military hardware and other metal items, and blacksmithing, which would be quite interesting. And then the other one being sort of a knowledge check. It's knowledge of this field. So I'm just trying to think in terms of how I can tie it so we know that it's going to get used. This is my biggest issue, is ensuring that it's going to get used in some way. Have I missed anything related to war? Historic battles, military organizations, and combat tactics. Oh, it's pretty. I feel like that's pretty broad. What do you guys think? Is it broad enough? I'm kind of feeling like we're pretty close to where we need to be with this, honestly. Which surprises me a lot. I really I thought I would be struggling a bit more than this. But I feel like that's pretty close. We only really need to have 3 abilities because the fighter's only got 3. So we only want to give them 2 utility and 1 combat thing. And that's kind of where we're heading. So we're almost there. Okay. All right, back to chat. Let's see what you guys have got to say. If anybody's got anything to say. Now is the time. The time is now. Okay, it's very quiet. Well, I'm going to assume I'm just going to make an executive decision. I'm going to end this poll. End the poll. And I'm sure that my home group will look at it and pull it apart and tell me if I have ballsed it up in some way, should that have been the case. It's possible. But yeah, I think that's... Let's go back and have a look at the document again. And I will take out the thing that I probably think is the least thing that fits narratively. And it's this one here. I think we get rid of this. This is probably, the world expert thing is probably not fitting for the battle master. But blacksmith, art of war, one is a knowledge check, one is a supporting your equipment thing. And I think ultimately, I feel like it's in the same spirit as the fighter, the core fighter for Shadowdark. I think what will be the telling aspect is the maneuvers, is how are the maneuvers going to be still on par with the weapon mastery that the fighter has. Weapon mastery for the fighter in Shadowdark is really good. Like if you look at how it works, choose one type of weapon. So you pick your weapon, long sword, short sword. When they say type of weapon, they literally mean such as a long sword. It's not like swords. You don't pick swords. It's either a long sword, short sword, bastard sword. You gain +1 to attack and damage with that weapon type. So that means that when you pick it, that's what you get, which is a big benefit. Like that numerically, that's a huge benefit. But it's very simple to implement, very easy to understand. On top of that, in addition, add half your level to those rolls, rounded down. So that means that when you get it, when you decide, okay, I want long sword, I'm going to get weapon mastery and long sword because that's the weapon I want to use the most. I'm going to get +1 to my attacks. I'm going to get +1 to my damage. But when I get to level 2, I get half my level as well to my attacks and my damage, which means it gets better. It also means that as I level up, this thing gets better and better in terms of numbers, which means that my ability to hit the target and do damage continues to grow. So that's a big deal, right? And I think that is probably still stronger than the maneuvers. The maneuvers gives you a lot more versatility though, other than you hit, swing, do damage. This could potentially do a lot of other things as well. I don't want it to be, you have got a lot to play with. It's really going to come down to how it plays and how people feel about it when they start mucking around with it. I think ultimately, I think that's probably where it's at in terms of the Battle Master or the War Master. Yeah, that's my general feeling. I'm probably out of brain power at this point. And I've been here for an hour, and I've got another hour left before I go to work. I probably should go and have a sleep. That would be the smart thing to do. But maybe I should consult the other classes that I made just to see if there's anything that... Yeah, let's do that. I'll pull it up. Let's have a look and see if there's anything that maybe sort of says, okay, Fred, maybe you made a mistake here and need to do something else with it. I don't normally do that sort of thing. I don't really want to do that here, but I feel like maybe we can. Snot on it. I've got to find it, don't I? It's part of tabletop role-playing games. It's under Shadowdark. It is... Is it this one? God, I hope it is. I think it is. Is this the document? Open with... Yeah, this is it. Okay. So let me just flick that over. So this is the player's expansion for Shadowdark RPG. Artwork is done by my brother, not by a professional artist. For those of you who are wondering too, nobody involved in this project has got paid yet. Because unless the project makes money, nobody gets paid. I don't get paid, okay? Wally doesn't get paid. In fact, Wally actually asked not to be paid for the project. AJ doesn't get paid unless it makes enough money to pay him. Mitchell Reed doesn't make any money, and neither does my brother who did the cover art. So it is a profit-sharing arrangement. It is the only way that really I think indie publishers have any chance of surviving, frankly. And it is the route and option that I selected for making this work. So let's go down and have a look at this. So Barbarian is probably... So let's have a look at the... Oh, can I make this a bit bigger? That'll help a little bit. I can see it a bit better now. Hopefully I got the screen up so you can see. Okay, so Barbarian, I haven't... Oh, Conqueror already is in there under Barbarian. And so I used Conqueror already. Is there something other than Conqueror that I could use as a different word? I will highlight Conqueror as I have already used Conqueror as a title. Oh, I took it out. That's right, I took it out. Conqueror has actually been removed, so I didn't use it. Oh, that's great news. Okay, so there's the Barbarian class. So for those of you who haven't seen this document, pay what you want, mate. So you don't have to pay any money if you don't want to pay anything. That's fine. I don't have an issue at all, particularly since it's not play tested. That's not true. I have play tested some of this. I just have not made adjustments based off that play test material, and I wouldn't say it is a... In my view, you need to play test something for a couple of years to really sort of knock out all the dents and make sure you play through from level 1 to 10 if you've got 10 levels. If you've got 20 levels, it's going to take you a heck of a lot longer. And I don't really consider something play tested properly unless you've actually gone right through from beginning to end. But anyway, so Conqueror is not an issue, and nothing else is showing up there. So that's the Barbarian. So the Bard, I don't think we're going to have any problems with the Bard. The Bard here is, there's nothing that I've duplicated, which is great. Commander is the one that's probably where the problems will lie. So yeah, so Commander, I used a lot of military ranks, and I don't think I have reused, the Warlord. So we had the Warlord before, but I think I took the Warlord out, didn't I? I took the Warlord out and I put in Tyrant. Pardon me. So we're actually all good there as well. That's great. This is a ridiculous problem to have to do with titles, I'll tell you that. Now, with the Druid, I don't think there's anything here that will duplicate. No, that's fine. Then the Monk, or the Martial Artist, the Warrior Monk, basically. And there's nothing in here that I feel like I have duplicated. Oh, Mercenary. I used Mercenary before under Neutral, and I put that into here. So it's this one here. Mercenary I have used in the past. Is there another word for mercenary that I could use? Mercenary. Mercenary. Thesaurus, dinosaur. Okay. Money grabber, materialist. No, none of those. That's just a soldier of fortune, hireling, merc, freelance. No, adventurer. That's not right. What's another word for mercenary? Legionnaire. Legionnaire, have I used the word? I don't think I've used legionnaire before. Could I not use legionnaire? Legionnaires were soldiers of fortune, basically, right? They get hired to go off and do that. Legionnaire, actually, legionnaire is not a bad idea. Let's just replace it with legionnaire. Yeah, let's do that. I can go back over here and get rid of our mercenary, and legionnaire would be spot on, wouldn't it? Legionnaire. Legionnaire. Yeah, that's good. Okay, cool. All right. So we've got mercenaries out. I don't know why I put mercenary under monk, but anyway. Paladin, that might be caused me some problems. Let's have a look. So the Paladin class is, let's have a look here. I don't think Protector. I didn't use Protector. I'm pretty sure. I used Hero before, didn't I? God, I hate titles. Okay, so highlight Hero. I didn't use Protector, thankfully, but I've used Hero before. Where is it? Okay, Hero, Protector, Savior. All of these other ones I don't think I need to worry about too much. They're all good. Okay, so we're cool. Let's move on. Ranger. What did we have for Ranger? I don't think there's anything under Rangers that I'm going to have problems with. I think nothing would fall in the realm that's going to be a problem. So we can just skip past that one. The Shaman. I think probably by far out of all the classes that I've made, the Shaman has proven to be the most popular. Yeah, I think it absolutely has proven to be the most popular class out of all of them. Anyway, is there anything that's duplicated here? Nothing. Great! Thankfully, it's just hero. It's another word for hero. Okay, and then what do we got here? This is the sorcerer. I don't think we're going to have a problem on the sorcerer because all of this is sort of magic-y stuff. Yep, so we can move on. The warlock, no, not warlord, warlock. I don't think we're going to have a problem with warlock either. No. So the only title that we've kind of duplicated is hero out of all of them. Oh, you pain. All right, hero. What's another word for hero? Thesaurus. Champion. We didn't really. Lionheart. Oh, kind of. Maybe we're going to have problems with this one. Star. Idol. Paragon. What's Paragon? Paragon feels like I could do that. I could do Paragon. Cavalier feels like it's a kind of a knight, isn't it? Paragon might be interesting. What does Paragon actually mean? A personal thing regarded as a perfect example of a particular quality, or thing viewed as a model of excellence. Paragon. I don't know. Well, I guess I could replace Paragon. Paragon? I don't know. Paragon. They used the name, the word Paragon in 4E to represent sort of higher levels of advancement and characters. So Paragon, Lionheart, Commander. I guess it would be fitting, I guess, in some respects. Exemplar, Paragon. I don't know. Conqueror. No, we're not using that. Knight. We're not using Knight because I'm pretty sure Knight's already come up in other things. We're not using Warrior, Savior. I think we could probably live with Paragon though. So if I can't use Hero, since I've already used Hero, let's use Paragon. Champion, Paragon. Lionheart, which feels like it's another step up from that. And we got our titles. Sweet! I will put this onto Patreon, like I do with most of my class build stuff. In fact, with all my class build stuff. In fact, with everything that I make, goes up onto Patreon. There are a shitload of adventures that I'm supposed to put onto Patreon. I'd forgotten about that too. There's so many, it's not funny. I've kind of gotten a little bit carried away. I've forgotten to sort of do stuff. Vandal, Tactician. Okay. I think we've got this nailed down fairly well. I'm pretty happy with that as a an hour and a bit plus God knows how much time I spent fiddling around figuring stuff out. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I probably should say that this project is... I'm going to do another one of these player expansion things for Shadowdark. So the idea is to do 10 classes. We're getting close to that. I think this will make number 5 on the list? So there's 5 more to go, and I've got at least 5 scribbled out. So, or scribbled down on a piece of paper, ready to sort of do, which means... I don't know, maybe a month or 2, and they should be, at least the first drafts will be done. I'm supposed to be seeing Wally DM tomorrow, either early or not early. I'm not too sure. I'm a little bit confused by the message that he sent me. But Wally DM is going to do the ancestries for this new expansion. And the first one had 17 ancestries. I don't know how many ancestries Wally's done, but I get the impression, since he said he's done all of his ancestries, he's got it all sorted out. I think we had talked about maybe it's like 15. And so that means that I suspect that maybe before the end of the year, you'll get another Shadowdark Players Expansion Volume 2 come out on DriveThru RPG. And I think this time I will do the cover artwork myself. I know that sounds weird, but yeah, I can't pay anybody to do that because there's no guarantee it's going to make any money. So why would I pay somebody a whole bunch of money for something that I don't know is going to make any money? It doesn't make any sense. And I can draw, kind of, yeah. If I put my effort into it and actually focus, I can probably handle it. So I'll probably do the cover artwork myself. It's going to be about, I'm really tempted to do an elemental warrior who's just ripped out somebody's spine like in Mortal Kombat. But anyway, I don't know if that's, maybe that's a bit beyond my skills. We'll see. Yeah, I'll think about it a little bit more. So that's coming. So what's going to happen with this day is normally I would do some design work, and we've been doing a lot of Shadowdark classes. I'm going to keep doing that, but next week I'm not going to do a Shadowdark class design build. I'm going to do a podcast. I haven't done a podcast or a sort of a discussion topic for a long time on the channel, and I'm going to talk about multi-classing in Dungeons and Dragons. Not just 5e, but also multi-classing in 4e, 3.5, obviously AD&D, earlier versions of multi-classing. I'm going to talk about that next week on this day at the same time. You may hear some stuff you like, and you may hear some stuff you don't like. But in my sixth state, it all just came flooding to me, and I think I have solved a problem that has been on my mind for quite a number of years. It was better than like sitting on the toilet and suddenly an epiphany. So I'm going to talk about multi-classing next week, same time, same day. Okay? And then we'll go back into the classes for Shadowdark till we get them out of the way. And then I'm going to roll back round to Dungeons & Dragons 5e, and I'm going to try to finish off the class design for the 5e stuff that I started, and that'll be in the late end of the year. That's kind of where my plan is at. So for those of you who thought I'm only doing Shadowdark, that's not true. I'm just right now, it's part of the project that I'm working on with Wally DM, amongst other things. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here because I'm talking too much, and you guys have already showed up and listened to the most interesting part. Well, hopefully the most interesting part. Anyway, huge thank you to everybody who's been here today. I do appreciate you hanging out with me. So thank you for watching and listening. Huge thank you to the 3 people who voted in the poll. I do appreciate it. It does make me feel like there was a reason. It is also good to see that out of those 3 people, everybody wanted to see a fighter that just didn't swing their weapon and hit and do damage, and wanted something a little bit more complicated. And I think we've done that. We've achieved that. I think that today. I think it's happened. Those people in chat, I want to thank Cal Rell and Fred Huber. Huge thank you for your feedback and your comments. Yeah, I want to thank all of my patrons. Without my paid patrons, this just doesn't happen. It's just not feasible. It's too expensive to run a YouTube channel nowadays. So thank you so much. Without your support, it wouldn't work. And the Battle Master class for Shadowdark will go up onto Patreon for the paid tier. And yeah, otherwise you're going to have to just copy down whatever you see in the live stream if you just want to not do it that way. I don't think there's much point, because you do realize that in about a couple of months, the whole thing's going to wind up coming out on DriveThru RPG as pay what you want anyway, more than likely. But anyway, but yeah, whatever. Works for me. So wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, or the night, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.